That's
Dr.
great.
Morris.
And you're, he's talking about Mark.
This was just down here when I come
Melissa,
in.
I wish they would listen to Priscilla. Melissa, was very, very good to her. Very, calling from the golf.
Huh?
Shut up.
Oh, you did?
Sure.
I get orders over there.
I'm not included here, it was triple dark windows, and all you can see was her hands on like this, because Kim asked the same thing. It had pipes on it, and
Mine's
I saw
got
it
right
sitting
there.
out at Whiskey's,
You don't know it now.
Sunday when we went to the barber shop.
At R11, it's got
I'm
two
not
shafts
included,
with it.
good looking.
21,000, but here's the first one for it. Where it is.
I did let everyone know.
Oh.
I don't think it was brand new. It
You
didn't
think you
have,
hit far before?
Maybe he might have turned it in over there. I don't know.
had that
Who has them?
light style. That's a new.
I don't know, I just saw it earlier.
It was sharp.
What day was it supposed to be turned in, today or a different day?
I couldn't tell you who was in it though. The windows were so dark. Yeah. All you could see was somebody's hand waving.
How long you going with a shaved head? I didn't even recognize it.
Didn't know it was me, huh?
No.
Just
It rained every day.
I heard it was raining down there.
No, I was down by Disney, by Orlando. Yeah, it rained like 2 inches in one day. We were down there.
Yeah, I was a sacrificial lamb on this one.
You didn't turn it in over there or anything? Okay. Because he easily knows what's going on. John Davis.
They're in a place 30 miles on the beach.
Yeah, it was, yeah. In the streets of Disney, the water was that deep in the streets, it's running down the street and stuff. They're running for the bus. Yeah. Yeah. They even like running in the rain. I thought that was fun too.
Next door that don't have any for this. This. Grant says I'm not doing it Friday.
The shoe and that you called me.
So glad you're there.
You okay with all this?
Yeah, I'll pay you.
You good with it? We covered it.
Yeah, I just came straight from that funeral. It took forever. I've been there since 11:30 this morning. Yeah, it rained, but besides that, yeah.
Never turn them off for long. Sucker will really right in the middle of it.
It's early, that's what the reason is.
I get to read through it real good.
Whatever they're telling you. I can do it either.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't go on vacation quick enough.
Yeah. That had to be in the wind. Hey, give me that paper back. I'll take that to me. He complains to me about it.
Somebody complaining?
Call this June 11, 2012 Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Grant Hughes,
Here.
Mike Lawrence,
Here.
Tom Rogers,
Here.
Donnie Bryant,
Here.
Bill Bruner,
Present.
Aaron Cook,
Here.
Patrick Myers is absent, City Attorney Joe Johns.
Here.
Approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Announcements. Next Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting will be July the 2nd, 2012 at 5 p.m. And our next Event Center Hotel Complex update will be June the 25th, 2012 at 4:30 and a work session to follow. Now we're going to have our bid openings for the property on High and Vine, Walnut. What is that?
It's the event, it's High, it's
okay.
From
High and
Walnut.
Okay.
from High Street to Vine and to Walnut, it's the event center.
Okay.
We received no bids.
Okay. Move on to the bid opening for the row house at 156, 162 East High Street.
Okay, we received one bid. From Tony Conley, purchase of 156, 162 East High Street, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I will be moving my business from my residence to the property located 156 to 162 East High Street, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, 47025. Firematic Sprinkler will also be looking to move to the High Street as will the company to install the sprinkler system at this location. I will meet the schedule set forth on December 31st, and I will actually try to beat the schedule and be in there before Fall Fest. I will be funding this project myself. I would like to purchase the property located at 156 East High Street, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and 162 East High Street, Lawrenceburg, Indiana for $505. All conditions of sales will be met. If you should have any questions, call.
He's going to live there, or it says purchasers must be the occupant of the unit.
Well, on the outside of it, we may have to check into some zoning. This would require zoning change down there.
Because I told you about another guy that he was a day late on bid. He might be interested if this doesn't pan out like this then.
Okay.
It was advertised as purchasers must be the occupant of the unit. So if he's not going to be the occupant of the unit, then it needs to be redone then for everybody.
Right, and well, in the zoning issue, and I think Mr. Conley mentioned when he dropped it off on Friday that he would also look at it as a residence, but we'll do a clarification. I'd advise the board take it under advisement.
Okay.
I'd so move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business, Tim Jensen, interlocal agreement.
Thank you, Chairman. I will just walk through, if you don't mind, if I can just kind of go from the interlocal agreement down to the warranty deed and the deed exhibit, and all four of those items just kind of roll in a row here. What we want to talk about tonight really is, as we prepare for the final steps of this process, one of these final things that we talked about, I think it was a couple weeks ago, was the Army Corps of Engineers permit. And we took this permit to the Lawrenceburg Conservancy District back in their May meeting, and we were a little surprised by some of the response that we got. We figured it was going to be a quick approval of signing the application to go into the Corps, since we had done all the legwork with the Corps already. And it turned out to be a little bit more than that. There was a discussion. They wanted to have some assurances and some different guarantees in place that would give them certain rights. And so they tabled it, and we went back and worked with Chairman Seitz and a few of the other board members, as well as their attorney, to work on an agreement. I won't say that we're at an agreement with all of the parties involved with the LCD, but what I will say, and I'll explain this interlocal as we get into it, is that we have an agreement that we believe is supported by a majority of the board of the LCD that is there. So the three things that really came out of what they wanted to address with the agreement was, the very first one was this limited warranty deed, which I brought to you guys, I think it was 4 weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago now, which was required by the Army Corps of Engineers. It was a deed that gave them the right to enter and inspect and look at the wall and do all those different things. We brought it to you guys, and we approved the basic fundamentals of that. That was included again in your packet today. There were some very minor changes in that related to the underslab drainage system. So it wasn't just with the foundation wall, but they also wanted to have access to the underslab drainage system. They wanted to have, so they wanted to have access to the underslab drainage system as well. So we added those things in here, and then they wanted some more language, and when I say they, it was more the Army Corps than it was the LCD. They wanted language regarding modifications to the wall, penetrations to that wall that's in the levee, and so on and so forth. And so this limited warranty deed, along with the legal description and then the exhibit that is there, is what was required by the Army Corps of Engineers. It's been now approved by the Army Corps' Real Estate Department. It's been approved by the Army Corps, and it's been to Penn National, and back and forth from our legal counsel to Penn National, and we believe that everybody has agreed to the language of this. And so that was one thing that the Conservancy District wanted, was they wanted the right, the non-exclusive perpetual right to enter and look at the property, look at the wall to make sure it was functioning as it was designed. One of the other things they wanted was the right to not just enter and maintain, or not to enter and inspect, but if the owner wasn't maintaining the wall or would not maintain the wall for whatever reason, that the LCD could then make those repairs as they saw necessary or as directed by the reviewing body, the Corps of Engineers. So they said, okay, the right to enter and inspect is not enough for us. We really want the right to also correct these issues if there are issues with this flood control system. And all of this pertains to how it integrally affects the integrity of the levee system. I mean, that's where LCD's concern is. That's their charge, and that's what the concern was. And so we talked about that. And then the third thing they wanted, which it was the major point of contention between our negotiating group and theirs, was they wanted a cash payment from the city or from the Redevelopment Commission to be held in perpetuity, so that if in the event the future owner couldn't repair the wall or wouldn't repair the wall, then they could tap those funds in order to do that. We were against that idea from the beginning. We talked about just having a contract like this that says there would be some shared agreements, that we talked about bonding it potentially, and we talked about this cash payment issue. And so what I told them at that Redevelopment Commission meeting back in May, or I'm sorry, in the Conservancy District meeting back in May, was that this number was going to be the hardest thing to come up with, because it's not very objective, it's very subjective, and depends on who looks at it and what part of this wall actually has anything to do with the levee, so on and so forth. So their board hired, or their director hired, Strand Engineers Associates. They have offices all over the Midwest. I think the particular office that looked at this one was out of Madison, Wisconsin. They reviewed the wall, and we were having negotiations ongoing, and they came back, and chairman of the LCD is here tonight, so if I misspeak, I'm sure he'll correct me, but from the email and the conversation that I got from the Strand gentleman, from the engineer that looked at it, was this wall does not affect the integrity of the levee whatsoever, and therefore he could not put a number to this at all, because there is virtually no portion of the wall itself that has any effect on whether that levee is functioning or not functioning. So while we agreed, and Penn National has already agreed, because the wall is in the levee, that this right of entry, or this limited warranty deed, which grants them the right of entry and to inspect. We also wanted to firm up the idea that if still they wanted to make corrections or repairs to said wall, then they could do that, or the under slab drainage system. And so what you have in front of you tonight is this agreement between the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and the Lawrenceburg Conservancy District. And what we're asking for tonight is your approval, contingent upon the approval of the Lawrenceburg Conservancy District in the June 21st meeting, which will be next Thursday at 7 p.m., correct, E.B.? So at that meeting. So this will be taken to them, assuming that you guys, if you guys pass it tonight, this will be taken to them. Of course, this is not binding until both parties have signed it and voted on it. So what this thing does, and I'll skip all the whereas statements as you guys read this, but and maybe I should just read them into public record, but it basically says, whereas the LRC, which is the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission, and the LCD, which is the Lawrenceburg Conservancy District, desire to work together to improve the quality of life for the citizens of the community, and whereas the LRC wishes to assist the LCD in the discharge of their duties to preserve and protect the flood control facilities under the LCD's care, and where there is an outstanding issue between the LRC and the LCD with respect to the construction of the event center and hotel along the levee section between Walnut and Vine Streets in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and whereas there is real property involved in the dispute, and that real property is currently owned by the LRC, but is to be deeded pursuant to a limited warranty deed to Indiana Gaming LP as grantee. That last paragraph was written in anticipation of the future transaction. Whereas the LRC and the LCD wish to resolve this outstanding issue. And so we go into the promises. One, the very first one there you have in front of you, is that we're going to prepare this limited warranty deed, which grants them, the LCD, a non-exclusive and perpetual right of entry upon, over, and through and across portions of the project, which are reasonably necessary for the sole and exclusive purposes of accessing and inspecting the underslab drainage system and the foundation wall. And then two, it's going to include language that prevents the owner from modifying the foundation wall of the corridor without the prior written consent of the LCD. Item number two, again, going to the LCD's concerns, it is understood that under current regulations, ordinance, and statutes, any current or future fee owner with respect to the property shall be responsible at its sole cost and expense for making timely making any improvements necessary or repairs to the concrete foundation wall and under dredge sealing system constructed by the LRC as part of the event center and hotel development. Goes on to say that those inspecting bodies may include the Army Corps of Engineers, but it's in order to ensure the integrity and efficacy of the concrete foundation walls for their intended purpose. 2.2 then says, furthermore, in the event any future fee owner of the subject property shall fail to perform necessary maintenance or make repairs required to maintain the integrity of the levee system as it pertains to the foundation wall or under slab drainage system, the LCD shall have the right to perform such maintenance and repairs, which gives them that right that they were seeking. Further, the LCD shall be reimbursed for all costs with such work by the current fee owner. Or if the current fee owner fails to pay such costs, the LCD may petition the LRC for payment. This does not in any way guarantee that the future 30 years out, 20 years out, 10 years out, whatever, that redevelopment commission will pay it. It doesn't say you have to pay it. It just says that if there is a dispute between all these different parties, that the LCD can petition the LRC for payment. We took out any reference to a bond, we took out any reference to a cash payment, and if all these things, this all goes back to the integrity of the wall and how it affects the integrity of the levee system. So that is the gist, or the main points, 1.1 and 2, and then 2.1 and 2. It's a very short two-page interlocal that is between the LCD and the LRC, and then all those different documents that are listed after this on your agenda here go with that. The last document, before I take your questions, is with the flood works or the flood protection works permit. This again is the permit that we have to have the LCD sign off on and sponsor as the sponsor of the levee system, as the caretaker of the levee system, in order to go to the Corps. We have emails from the Corps of Engineers Structural Department, from their Geotech Department, stating that they are all ready to approve and issue the permit as soon as they receive this document. We have emails from their real estate department or from their project coordinator through their real estate department saying that they're good with the deed, that everything is good as soon as they get this document. And so what we're asking for on the 21st to the LCD will be their signature, their approval of the agreement, and then the signature on this flood works or flood protection works permit. After
after that, we've been told by the Corps that it will take anywhere from 48 to 72 hours to finalize those permit details and issue that permit. So we would expect that if this all happens in the timeline that we think it will, we would be under the heavy construction that following week or towards the end of June here. With that, open up to any questions that you guys have about this agreement or anything else with the event center at this time.
Tim?
Yes, sir.
I have three. Are they asking for this fee to be paid by Lawrenceburg or the Lawrenceburg redevelopment?
When we had initial discussions about a fee being paid, it was by the Redevelopment Commission, because that's the contracting body on this thing, on this project. But that is no longer being asked, Tom. So that is no longer in the agreement. We've taken that out of the agreement, and we've taken it off the table as even a discussion point, because the engineer came back and said you can't put a monetary value on this.
Well, so there's going to be no fee paid?
Correct. We're not suggesting any bond or compensation whatsoever at this point. That is the proposal we have into the LCD.
And this is for Infinity, this agreement on that wall?
Correct. This deed will then, a deed transfers, and Lisa can get in more to this if we need her to, but it's my understanding that this then will follow the property in perpetuity, and that any future owner of this property would then be subject to the same rights of inspection.
And if LCD doesn't agree, say they want a fee, then it would come back.
Right.
Redevelopment does not have this money to pay that kind of fee. So they would be asking, and my point, the end point, and I say Lawrenceburg or Redevelopment, we're both the same, and I think the LCD is the same thing as Lawrenceburg, Redevelopment, and the city of Lawrenceburg. And I know the LCD has money. And my question is, if there is a fee, why doesn't the LCD pay that fee themselves?
That's a good question. I can't speak for the LCD.
That's my point on this fee thing.
Tim, their own inspector said it wouldn't interrupt the integrity of the levee or
Correct.
anything. Also, Tim, on these inspections, are they limited to where the wall is? I don't want to see him running rampant through his operation.
Well, yes, Mr. Bryant, the exhibit that's small, maybe harder to read, it looks like this, is what is the part of the warranty deed that gives them the right to inspect, and it directly references this wall, which is hatched out, and then it references the underslab drainage system. So they being the LCD will have to work with whoever the property owner is, Hollywood here at the beginning, to schedule those inspections. One of the things they did ask for was an easement over the rest of the property so they could enter whenever they wanted, and we said no to that. Yeah. We don't believe that they need access to the building. We say proper notification in here, so they're going to have to make a phone call and set it up with whoever they need to get in there and see it. In the event of emergency, everybody's going to be working together to get these guys in there to take a look if they need to look at something immediately. So,
thank you.
One question I have, Tim.
Yes, sir.
How come, is there going to be agreement that the casino has to sign about maintaining this wall if there was any issues, or just the redevelopment? Since redevelopment's not going to own it once it's complete, it seems to me like the casino would have to sign agreement that they'll maintain that wall.
Yes, that is part of, well, the limited warranty deed obviously gives them, when we deed that over to them, they have to absorb the right to inspect, right, the right of entry and the right to inspect, and they can't make different repairs. And you've read that part of the warranty deed where it says they can't make repairs without the express written permission. We've had conversations with the real estate attorney who's talked to their real estate attorney about tightening up the language within the covenants and restrictions that already exist in the transfer documents, for lack of a better term, when we transfer the parcel over, per the agreement that we've already worked out, that those covenants will run with the property. So everything that's in this interlocal agreement will be added to and beefed up in the language of the covenants. The covenants have already been agreed to, and in general say that they are responsible for all the maintenance and everything, operations and costs. I mean, once we deed it over, they are responsible for everything and part of that. Hollywood's here tonight if we have specific questions for them. I think some of our concerns are probably more on future owners, what happens if and a future owner. So yes, this thing will be recorded with the property and in the covenants and the restrictions and on the property, and will transfer forever with the property.
And you said there will not be easement, because I know that some of the emails I'd read, they want the easement.
Yeah, you were copied on most of the emails there, I think, and from the LCD's attorney to back and forth, but they were pushing for an easement. An easement is obviously a stronger document when it comes to ownership of property, and I can let Lisa explain more about the easement versus the right of entry. We believe that the right of entry that was given by the warranty deed that was prepared by Aaron on the real estate side and accepted by P&G met the requirements of the intent of what Army Corps was looking for, and I think that through the board members that we've been talking with on the LCD and have been copied on all the emails, it seems like most of them, or the majority of them, are okay with this language.
Okay. Majority is what matters.
That was Hollywood. Y'all happy?
I'm sorry?
Y'all happy with it?
Sure.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on this?
Board have any other questions? Does anybody from the audience have any questions?
I'd so move we move on with it, sign it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. That's all I have, unless there are any other questions on the event center itself. I would like to invite you guys to the bid opening for Bid Pack 2. I try and give you these dates every week so that you know what they are. Bid Pack 2 goes out this week and is due back on July 2nd at 2 o'clock. So we'll have a bid opening for Bid Package 2 on Monday, July 2nd at 2 o'clock. It'll be probably a rather long meeting. There's 16 bid contracts in that package, so on average we'll have 2 to 3 probably bids on each one of those potentially, and so it could be as many as 30 to 50 different bid openings there. But we'll do that with Redevelopment Director and Mario, and then the Clerk Treasurer's office is there as well. So, but that is open to the public. Any other questions tonight?
I don't think so.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Tim. Move on to old business. Any
Under old business, we need to talk about the offering and what our next steps are. Lisa Lee would explain those for us.
Thank you, Grant, members of the commission. You have in front of you what may seem like a long resolution, which is actually only a one-page resolution, and the remainder are the exhibits which you had already approved in your April 23rd meeting. These are the notices of offering of the property on which the hotel and event center is proposed to sit, as well as the offering sheet that was available in the director's office from the time of the first publication. You're not actually authorizing any conveyance in this resolution. If you'll indulge me here for a moment, as far as the recitals here in the beginning, basically we're just going back and reciting what we've done. This is for the Downtown Entertainment District Economic Development Area, or TIF area as you know it. Your desire to promote the economic development of the area with the anticipated 180-room hotel, full-service restaurant and event center, and all appurtenances and necessary and related improvements. We're stating that the commission currently owns the property. That is the subject of the offering. Our last whereas there tells what we've done. This notice of offering was published 4 different times on May 8th, May 10th, May 22nd, and May 24th. As I mentioned, the offering sheet, which is a part of Exhibit B in the very back, was also available in Mr. Hughes's office. As you heard, No bids were received on the property. As far as the action items, Section 1, all we're doing is asking you to ratify the things you approved previously. That's why these things are attached. Section 2, we're just acknowledging that you received no bids on the property. And Section 3, while this is not required under Indiana law, it's my understanding that it is this commission's custom and practice, if you don't receive any conforming bids, to then allow additional time for people to make offers on the property. So that's what we're doing in Section 3. If you adopt this, it says, "The Commission hereby authorizes the Director of Redevelopment to accept offers for the purchase of the property," and by accept, I mean to accept them into his presence. He will be bringing them to you for the purpose of the purchase of the property in the event no conforming bids have been received, because when this was drafted, we had to wait until 5 o'clock today. And further authorizes the Director to recommend to the Commission at the first Commission meeting held no less than 30 days from today, because you cannot negotiate for less than the average of the two appraisals until that 30-day period has run, but you can accept offers during that time to then take action later. But you're authorizing the Redevelopment Director to recommend to this Commission, at least 30 days after this meeting, some parameters within which to negotiate an arm's length transaction for the sale of the property upon terms considered best for the Commission and the city. So that's really the only actions that you are taking here. You're not authorizing the conveyance of this property this evening. You're authorizing to accept offers from others, as I'm told you've done in the past, and then authorizing Mr. Hughes to bring to you, depending on what those offers are. Certainly he has to bring any offers to you, but also bring parameters that he recommends to the Commission for the final conveyance of this property. Again, no less than 30 days from today. So what I'm looking at, based on your regular meetings, would be your July 23rd Redevelopment Commission meeting.
Any questions from the board? I have one question. Just when you said about the average of the two appraisals, it's not about this, but I think the last time you was at one of our meetings is when you went over the appraisals. And at our next meeting, I'd asked for those appraisals to be listed in our minutes because they weren't. And they said we couldn't.
The actual appraisal themselves?
The amount, no, the amounts.
The amounts are in the resolution.
But I wanted them in our minutes of the meeting, and I was advised at that meeting they was not allowed to be.
The resolution should be a part of your minutes, and the resolution actually lists the two appraisals, the one from HVS and the amount, and the one from Mitchell Appraisals and the amount. The actual appraisals themselves, by law, under the redevelopment statute, are not for public consumption.
No, I'd requested for the amounts to be listed in, if you remember, Connie, but Joe said they couldn't be. I was just curious.
He probably thought you wanted the whole appraisals in there.
No, because it only listed the amount of the average, and I just wanted to list each of the amounts.
Okay.
So, I was just
Well,
curious.
they are in the public document that is the resolution that you adopted as well.
Anything else? What would the board like to do?
Make a motion we approve.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Anything else under old business?
Yeah, I got one question. I don't know if anybody up here knows. When the last two row houses, does anybody know when they come back to the city? Actually, the first two, if you're looking at it from this direction.
We're trying to set up a meeting with those individuals involved, and he's got a health issue and being able to get a meeting date set. But as of June 1, they're not in compliance. So I think Mario's had some conversation with them. I think they've got a small investment in there they'd like to talk about, and then so we're trying to set up that meeting.
And then also, if it does come back to the city, does the grants that he got with it go with the next purchaser, or do they dissolve? Or
well, I would say it would depend on the next proposer.
I know the firehouse did when Tim got his, but I didn't know if those were the same issue or not.
I would say it would be based on what the next individual wants to do, and they have to come to this board to discuss it.
Okay.
Is there any way to possibly push the issue a little bit and make sure that they don't drag their feet?
I think he has a meeting scheduled as soon as Joe gets back from vacation with Jose.
Well, did he get hold of Votos'
Yes.
office? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it should be here, Mike, in the next
You know,
couple of
we've
weeks.
been pushing.
All right.
Let's get it resolved. He's ready to get it resolved.
Any other old business?
Sorry, on my announcement side for the event center, I did want to tell you guys that the RFP, or request for proposals for the restaurant and bar operator, will be going out this week. It's kind of been a joint effort between Ahmed and myself putting this together to find potentially an operator in the event that they don't want to do it. But right now, they're asking for a bar restaurant operator there, looking for whether it's a local group or a semi-local group or a national chain or whatever that might want to come in there. But that RFP, which we can give you guys copies of, and it's not a redevelopment commission issue because they're going to be contracted directly with the end user of this thing. But I'll make a copy available in Grant's office for review. It is open to anybody, so anybody that wants to look at it or propose on it is welcome to do so. But that should come out this Thursday with the decision being made by the end of July, right? That's what we said, Ahmed. So if there's any questions on that.
It'll be in the paper this week.
It will be in the paper this week. Okay. So
Is it going to be bigger print so it's noticed or?
I didn't do it.
Okay.
I think Hollywood put it in the paper, so.
I don't know how he's
All
going to
right.
do it.
Just curious, because we've had that discussion on many issues here.
Good.
Any comments from the audience? Well, motion to adjourn? Have a first? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Easiest meeting I've had to sit through.
Joe, you were a great help.
I'll be around in a minute.
All right.
Because but it was in information that was, it's accompanied the minutes in the book, so it's in the book. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
See you, Mike.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Mike got home.
I heard that.
They're coming up to the top thing.
Emergency.
It's right there. That's all I got to
Well, I think this week we were sitting on the weather.
It opened up on the corner yet.
Oh, really?
Vegas has got somebody.
But you see them nosing around up there, that's.
You probably haven't seen it yet, but I think it may be something.
And owner occupied. That's why I said a couple things about it. That's what I said in the paper. I said owner, purchaser must be the occupant of the unit. It said it
Yeah, we don't have to do it now. We can take it for Thursday. Well, we need to kind of watch and see what else is happening.
Good. Grant, good to see you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Guess we'll probably see you tomorrow, right?
Yeah, no, good seeing you. Thank you.
pile of topsoil. And when they shred it, it does, and it's actually bottom ground.
We're gonna wait for them. Okay, that works. They'll keep it upstairs, provided there's no changes.
It changes it all.
I want to know they were talking
Okay,
before
all right.
it's first, try to get the grant the first time this year, and
Plus, it was just in the end of the pile. We got stockpiled over the city garage. And by doing that, anything that blows or get caught in it, that looks good.
Get them on the phone and get that agreement done. I mean, we talked about a year at 12, so that's
So like I say, unless you get dirt,
So it's basically
somebody's gonna be out about
before you do it.
Well, it depends on what the first closet is, that, I think, and how big the first closet is. But again, that puts us at 14, so that's where we're at for repairs on the other one.
Oh, yeah, there's something else after this.
But
But like I said, I'll get him out there and I told him I do want to rip this.
why don't we go on concept of the
layout of the building, don't they have map or layout?
Oh, yeah. You gotta go. You gotta go a lot.
So we'll go ahead.
Well, there again, I don't know if the city's gonna get into doing all that. But there again, you got $75 in there, I got a whole lot more in it than that. You know what I'm saying, I mean, but we wanna.
I wasn't late this week. I beat you here.
Oh, yeah.
Quick thing, Bill.
What about the town meeting coming up right now? The workshop. Yeah.
Well, there could be some silver loom in that too, because the word, you know, it's, like I say, it's bottom ground. No, you know, but like I said, we'll find out, like I said, I don't know the answers to it, that's why I'm gonna bring somebody in. That way at least we'll.
I remember, yeah, because it says in the contract, 'cause I got it, it says that the city can buy the building back minus the grant money the city put in. The city put in $218,000 grant money, so he's saying, well, say Tracy's just not interested in it, decides it's up to $300,000. So he's gonna be buying it, or he can say they want something 500, so I don't know, that's not, you know, I don't know, they got. Okay. I have to deal with that issue first, I guess, but yeah, it's, I think it's gonna be a while, at least, when we out of it.
I think he's gonna litigate, after, because we're not gonna give him any money for it, right?
Yeah, I'm in.
I mean, we're not gonna,
What we have, we done gave them, that they're 18.
$250,000.
Yeah. All right, what we gotta do next, Gene? What's going on here now? Going two at a time or something?
Huh?
The restroom in there.
Right, down at the end of that little
Go this way or go out that way?
I thought they said a couple of months. So Tony Conley's only bid it got turned in there for $505. And yeah, but it's advertised in the paper that the purchaser must be the occupant. I told Grant that, so hopefully he's not gonna try to sell it to him. So I know Tony Conley ain't gonna move in that building. You don't have to be the occupant, I'm sure a lot of other people that want to get on it then.
Where'd Donnie go?
I don't know. Oh, he's outside, is that him?
Alright.
Yeah, I think that's Kreider out there.
Maybe, I don't know. You guys don't need it, you guys are all, even done Mike or leaving? It says only can two be here at a time, so
Yeah, but they was hoping they'll build it today.
I think you might be. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Say you gotta leave it out of the loop, but you can go on it's going right
Yeah, I got like down in Florida, and of course your grandma died before that down there, and it was shitty weather down there, and then my mom was hospitalized. I was gone. I tell you about that. She went to the hospital. She had to be there for 4 days. She lost. They checked her in. She only had half the blood in her body she was supposed to. She's bleeding internally somewhere, so they had to give her 4 units of blood and a blood transfusion, like 4 bags of iron, and
I bet that concerns you a little bit.
yes,
That's major.
yeah. So they were there. She was in there for 4 days while I was down there.
I bet you.
And then on the way back, they lost our luggage. And then today I've been at the funeral since 11:30 this morning, and I just made it here like 10 till quarter
They have
till.
a family gathering afterwards.
Yeah.
That they got going on now.
It was from 3:30, and I left over there at 4:30, and then most people were leaving about that time anyways, and then I left. So.
I appreciate it if you hang around and wait for him, so he can at least talk to you.
I guess the city's got a financial advisor too now.
Yeah.
I seen because Teresa left me a message to come pick up a paper over there about that.
They want to just go back to the original budget, kill ours. You're still doing this,
Yeah, I guess it's almost done anyway. We start making the budget for next year. I guess the department heads are already starting meetings to turn in the budget for next year anyway.
Yeah.
By the time we get done fighting
Anything
it.
different about ours and theirs that we know the taxpayers and taxpayers really.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's different.
I mean, if it didn't work, I mean, we could still do that anyway, 'cause we gotta approve the budget. But I guess the budget process has already started, because I guess the department heads are starting to turn in some of their money. I mean, turn in what they need for next year or something. Toby might know.
Start that in January.
That's what I heard. I think Carl told me, somebody told me about it.
But they're trying to push along, yeah. It's been a nightmare.
I heard it was pretty rowdy. 'Cause I talked to Connie Canoe over there at the Little League field on Saturday. My son had a baseball game, and she was telling me about it. Everybody getting up there and talking and stuff.
That sounds good things to say about it, and of course, you already hear all the negative.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk out here and try to find a light and see if I can hold them.
Is Jackie back yet, or just
Yeah, a week or so ago. That's right, come to the meetings. Really? Yeah. You live over here, Ken? Yep. That's not like you're going to on me. You're not Fred Jones. Oh, Fred Jones? Meet Fred Jones. Fred? Yeah. What's your name? My name's Alfred Wood. I live in Wood. All right. Related to Sean? He's the It's 812-537-1249. Yes. 1249.
They said they won't be in. Where'd Bill go?
I didn't see him. I just came in. I had to go get me a drink.
Something to drink? They said it's gonna be a little bit after 6 before this meeting gets started. Maybe they're out here.
There's 3 or 4 out there, yeah.
Just want to tell everybody so we're not sitting waiting and.
That's what I'm trying to find out what time it is.
It's 1:45 right now.
Oh, okay.
So he said probably a little bit after before they get started.
Hey.
Come on with me. Oh no. Yeah, beautiful.
started at 6. They said it might be a little after 6 before they get started.
But yeah, but if the meeting to be at 6, I guess they're gonna be delayed.
How you doing? Okay, go back to sleep, I just checked. Come on, Aaron, you're supposed to put foot to ass on this.
I know, I didn't know, I don't even know what's going on with y'all, really. I just got back in town on vacation, and they said it'd be here after 6 now.
So you've been coming down here quite often?
Oh, yeah. You know, a lot more,
Party didn't start yet?
No, I'm gonna, oh, I don't need to. Thank you. But, Karen, I'm frustrated with this town.
yeah, I can't get on either side.
How's it feel to be in the middle?
I'll be frustrating, but I mean, you can't like each up, but, I mean, because sometimes you'll see me go to one side or I go to the other side.
And then you get hit by both sides. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't win either way, but then like, you don't go this way, you know, I don't know, I want to hear everything, then we'll vote whichever way I think is right, but. Yeah, but I guess.
Here, I mean. You're married.
Yeah. I mean, I get into it with him more than any of these people, even people on his own side.
You know, he's been asked about, the city know about this discriminating deal. He said, no, we don't know. We don't know the problem.
Yeah.
You know, they talk about housing. Everybody says, well, you know, your project was killed because we didn't go to the city. My project was killed because much we had our rates.
Yeah.
Did you say that letter?
No, you told me that one day last year.
But, they had, I'll email it to you, the city.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's just,
Yeah, you told me that last year.
and, you know, and then they.
They let you do it, they didn't tell you about it and stuff, everything.
You know where the money went?
Yeah.
You know where the money went?
Yeah.
You're right. Highview, Lawrenceburg Village, and Bel-Air. Ridiculous. You know, Bill, and I butted heads on this. He's like, well, you know, we're trying to get home. So the program that I was sitting here had set up was for homeless. You know,
we were working with local banks. Lawrenceburg averages 7 foreclosures a month in Lawrenceburg.
Yeah.
Not the sheriff's.
I thought it would be more than that even.
But it's just the city of Lawrenceburg.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting here, the majority of them that are losing them are due to the adjustable rates. You've got 2-year, 3-year, your 5-year, your 7 and your 10. So those are all starting to come due.
Yeah.
Families can't afford that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, they may be able to make a year, but then their reserves are drained. They have nowhere to go.
Yeah. And they can't pay their property taxes because they're trying to pay their house payment.
That's it.
And they go for sheriff's sale.
And so this program was to help them. The way it's set up in federal and state guidelines is that if you lease option of property to an owner, they make 24 one-time payments that are recorded at a county recording office. The 25th, it is not a purchase, it is a refi. So you can put people back into, it may not be the house they had,
Yeah.
but they're within their community. They're within the same, they have their same support people, church, schools, family members, whatever. They're not leaving the area. They're not going to assisted living or anything like that. This program was perfect for them. You know,
I remember you spent a lot of time on it. I mean, and all of a sudden you told me last year that they never got the money. It's like they would have told you before you even spent all your time on it, right? Yeah, but
because they're two people aside.
Yeah.
Because for any work to be done anywhere, you have your city construction.
yeah.
And they're like, well, you know, these were other avenues that were already taken. I said, you know, it's the same financing and funding. And you're sitting here telling me you didn't know about it. You know, I'm not stupid. I mean, hell, you know, I got a degree. I got a securities license.
Yeah, they're talking about you in the office here and stuff. And, I mean, they let you go through the whole thing. And
Yeah.
already got the money.
You know what's so killing about that? It wasn't my office. It still had to make memory on everything.
Oh, that's still, is that the one?
Yeah.
Jane, actually, Jane and Doug still, they don't have one, still here.
Yeah.
They put who they want back, they don't have it, they just don't have it on. I got my keys from JR. I didn't ask them, not to hear anybody, I just went and got the JR and just took over the officer eyes. If you give them the opportunity to bully you around, they do. And I don't let them bully me around.
And don't. But you know, I mean, and I'm saying this, I like you. I mean, I respect you. But, you know, the city's not going to like me here in the next, 60 to 90 days. Because I'm tired of being pushed around, lied to. I try to work with the city. Every project I bought to this city had an upside and a potential of dealing and bringing jobs, creating, a tax base, helping people get homes, helping people get repairs. I mean, to this day, I still get about 10 to 15 calls a month. What do you know how to do this?
Yeah.
Now people think this program for $15,000 is the same thing. It's not. And now it's on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
People have sent in their applications. And they're
7s are free, and over 7 you pay back.
7,500, and the next 7,500 is 0% interest. And they're the same balance.
So I know people have been applying for it. Actually, my stepdad, he did a roof job over there, and they were applying for it.
And none of them have comfort. They're like, okay, they said the turnaround will probably be 10 business days, 2 weeks. No.
I had a lot more.
Imagine worse than him.
Yeah, I can see your house.
And then Margaret, we're sitting here looking at the your house. We're
Yeah.
How long? You've been passed away, 3 years.
Yeah.
And the house lives that house can be either.
Some houses that can be stuff done with it. I don't know if you're friends with that. his neighbors all complain that he don't live there, down here in Montana. He's got a bunch of birds living there, rotten plywood's all in the back, and I've been on Carl, I'm trying to get over there, because the neighbors are all complaining, birds are living there, so they're, all these animals are going in there at night, and they want to build in their house.
I don't take this wrong way, but it's helped so much.
Yeah.
But you know what? Before the vote was here, we had a strong tax base. We need to keep it no matter what. We need to get these houses. I mean, with the funds that Lawrenceburg has, the 63 to 699.
Yeah, I think so.
What's that plaque? Is that now?
It's
2006.
detention. Doesn't need to be.
Last week, they on the council member.
March Street Tunnel. Hi there. I didn't know that was you. The charger's still here.
The
charger.
I already had that vacation, Disney vacation, which didn't pay for a year.
Remember when I left my charger here?
My vacation on Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, whatever. Teresa, how does this work?
What, honey?
All the workshop business.
Never had one before.
We never had a workshop before.
Oh, man, now we're gonna shovel, man.
I don't understand what's going on. Where's all your people at?
I'm here myself, I think, I don't know. Look here,
Well, educate us.
Yeah, you tell us.
you got the budget for this year, you can vote for that, then keep it the same, and work on it for next year, which is, should be in the process soon anyway. Or we can sit here and fight about this for the next 6 months till the next budget starts anyway.
If it don't
And
get
then go to
passed
the
by.
That's your-
state don't get involved.
They don't get passed by the end of the month.
For June 30th,
Mhm.
I think June 30th, on the papers.
And then the state decides what we have, what we don't have, what we spend, what we don't spend.
Yes, your partner is never speak.
I think Bill goes there too.
Okay, we'll just-
I don't know who's out here first and how this works, but. I'm just here, I'm just enjoying.
Three.
Yeah.
Three is a quorum.
Yeah.
They can't have.
That's what I'm saying, I don't know if we draw names
Unless
back
they
there.
told you today, what are they gonna do?
So do you get to
One
go
and two,
home?
you guys out, and bring back in?
I mean,
They did that
we read
in
that
the
outside. and it
Millie
was wrong on its
Bill
own.
era.
We
In the
remember.
Tremaine administration.
We remember.
But they did what?
They did that when it was Millie, Bill, and Lou. Two would, no more than two, they would rotate in and out
Right. Yeah,
all
we
the
remember.
time.
But it was never
How
this
long did it
bad.
last?
What, Millie, Bill, and Lou? Well, for Paul Tremaine's term as mayor, they fought and argued
No,
for,
we're talking about how long did the meeting last?
oh, did the
I
meeting?
ain't sitting here till 9 o'clock.
Never mind, but it was never this bad. It was never.
Although it was kind of fun because Grace would cuss people out. Jackie's not to that point yet at meetings.
My God, you don't want to see her there neither, because once she cuts loose, I don't think anybody's going to be having any fun.
I don't know why people are so surprised that we ever cuss.
Jeez, you get her mad, it's something.
I'm out here, so I call first.
You did first dibs.
Yeah,
You were here
I'm
first.
here
Well, what
first.
time is it?
After 6.
Another question.
Yeah, come back.
Who's coming in? I heard, Reedy?
That's what they say.
That's the financial advisor.
We don't know,
Why you
Brad.
looking it up?
I was wondering, has anybody heard it?
No.
I mean,
We were just surprised, they didn't know
Before-
anything about
Before all this, we had one law firm for the city and one person handling the budget. Now we have 3 law firms for the city and 2 financial and clerk treasurer. We got 6 people instead of 2 now. 6 firms instead of 2.
You know what, Aaron? It ain't your fault.
Don't you love pulling your hair out?
Yeah.
Don't you love pulling your hair out?
Yeah.
No, that's what we saw this morning when we got to work at 7:30. I noticed on the outside of my door.
I'm wondering if during the next election, if they're going to allow all that, email stuff. You know what I mean?
How the hell did they all win?
I only have one out there.
I'm talking about them 3, you know it, them 4.
How's your redistricting?
I haven't even heard.
Yeah, you're in limbo anyway.
I don't care how they do it.
You're in
It doesn't
District
matter.
1.
It doesn't matter to me. I think me and Green don't want to, if I do run against them, she don't want to run against me, so I think they're trying to make it around my thing.
Different, she'll squeeze you out with her absentee shit.
I don't like pressuring people like that anyway. I'd rather just making my people sign it out.
Well,
I think it's sad. I think it's sad around the nursing homes and it's still so bad. Not only the nursing homes, them old folks' homes that nobody has keys to, not supposed to be able to get in. Plus that mentally handicapped place, she went in and got all in.
that was my fault.
I had to sign my yard.
Are we in the right place?
That's what they told me.
Where's everybody
They
at?
told, well, Bilbo told me it's here, out here.
Did I say we're supposed to be at?
Well, it said immediately following the redevelopment commission, but did the people that sit on the board with you about hire these people didn't know what time the redevelopment meeting started? Because they don't start at 6.
It's been a 5 all year.
Yeah, just wondering, because there is, they
Okay, Teresa, she went out to her car, got on the phone and come back over and
I
said.
drove by the door, I heard
That's
her
because that's
something,
what
I heard by the door.
Florida calendar, that's why they made
I didn't
it.
hold quiet all week.
Unless that we improve it in house of somebody else.
well, so I would think that you would still check regardless of what was on the calendar, because for example, the calendar has the council meeting being on the second day.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I mean, she's like,
Yeah.
so.
How did your,
It
was great. Was it good? Good.
Yeah, we had real
I wanted
good
to say your
weather.
name, but I knew it was
Yes.
your tire, or your anniversary.
Yeah, it was really good.
Good,
We
good.
had a good time.
Yeah.
That's exciting. 40 years?
40 years.
It's a long time. Tell you what.
Was Mike only off today?
Yeah.
He's coming back tomorrow? Okay. More
Yeah.
stuff happened when
Yeah.
we were gone. Did you hear? Did you talk to Donnie? Or Donnie?
See you in the hospital now?
I guess.
Well, he called Mike earlier today.
That's what he said he did.
Yeah, he did call Mike earlier. Said Donnie was at the party yesterday. Donnie was,
Yeah, they give feedback.
Yeah, he said he
he's
had real
been
bad.
sick. Mike said he's had it for a long time.
Sinuses and.
Big second.
Yeah, yeah. I'll walk all the way out, or I'll stick my foot in there.
Yeah, Mike hates the mess. He thinks he's gonna be every day. It's a good thing if you're home today, because we put both of us left. We stayed up to the
Party all night long?
Well, we had fireworks till about 10:30.
Oh, shit, you broke the wall. Do they have a conference room? Yeah, they're all sitting back here, Mario and.
That's,
I've seen him.
He's in there too?
He wasn't in there.
He's out here. What you say?
You doing it there?
No, that's a different meeting back then.
There's
I was trying to see what they're talking about back there. Yeah, they said that guy that's running, he thought the meeting's at 6, and he wasn't expected to be here, he's on his way, I guess.
Who, Reedy?
Yeah.
Well, they do go to 6:10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just saying.
It scared Sean dramatically last week.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, you weren't here. I was on vacation too, so.
Yeah, she called the next day and, she was asking if we set up the Wednesday meeting, and I'm like, no, we don't want to take the time, but, she's like, it was pretty interesting.
She's like, never again.
Yeah, she knew that you ever.
It's like clown.
I owe her double because she ended up being here half the night Thursday night too.
What was Thursday?
The shooter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hey, that cost me a good night's sleep, I tell you, I couldn't leave up there. I just said,
Did you guys see it?
I got your afterwards.
Yeah, how stupid are
Why
they?
would the scene, because I watched them go in there, and they came right out with the stretcher.
One of the comments I saw was,
No.
well, what is this? We're just hanging out.
At the birthday party yesterday.
Don asked what we were doing.
There was some.
But,
We're waiting for this.
one of the comments on, Facebook, somebody put like the link with his picture up or whatever, because he was all like beat up, you
Yeah,
know?
somebody
They said that, I guess some of it was from him and girlfriend.
That's what I would say it was from.
Shit, are you kidding? Cuts
No,
and,
I would say that's what happened.
but then, I don't know if I
Well,
saw.
that's what I had heard, was that he was in it with his girlfriend, that she started it.
But
It was
And
something
then
like
he
they
went
said
to
she
house
put her
and
foot
it was
on a
no
piece
time.
of glass and they were drunk, arguing over who was gonna clean up the blood, and then they started fighting, but I guess she started whooping his butt, I don't know.
Is them attorneys giving this?
I don't think so,
Huh?
I don't know.
What did he say?
Them attorneys, they doing this? They giving this?
We don't know.
They didn't know about it till this morning,
We didn't know until we saw the notice on our door this morning at 7:30 a.m.
because they got hung up on Saturday.
Yeah, it was on the outside of our door.
Who brought it?
We don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was that one. We went out in the hall.
I got one dropped off at our
I
office.
came up here at 9 or 10 last night to look at the door to find out what meetings were today. and it was
I
all
don't
there,
know,
but
it was there this morning when I came in.
I guess that's
Well,
why
it's a
it's not,
workshop, that's why there's
council
gonna be
meeting,
two
probably.
council people in the room at the same time.
Can we get some pizza delivered?
Hell no.
What, I mean.
They don't have a budget.
No.
Yeah, we can't pay for
Don't take it out of the
it.
fire department or Johnny will come after him.
He said something like, I like to know about this stuff ahead of time. I said, I would too.
Yeah.
It's two of them.
Your dog Iris?
Yeah.
How old is she now?
One.
So she has no idea what was going on either, huh?
Where?
In Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to go back. They had the office.
But you have pictures.
Yeah.
That's what Suzanne told me. She was like, it was not enjoyable. We
I
rushed the whole
hated
time. We haven't been yet. Don't want to go.
Oh, my daughter, the
That's
first time we
Lego
went,
and
she's
Costco.
18 months old, I have pictures of her sleeping in the
No.
I have pictures of her sleeping in Busch
Yeah.
Gardens.
We took her too.
She was out at 5:30 in the
Put you in
morning.
half the day's awake.
We were home at 1 or 2.
Sometimes that would be better now where they're like,
We've seen a lot of people down there pushing blowers up at people and taking pictures.
Come on, Clown College, let's go.
you heard something?
Yeah.
I'm not staying for 3 hours. if I'm dragging shit out. I mean, how, they're only showing you how to do it, that's amazing. Why would they have one or two? Can't do anything.
Yeah, I know, I'm not twice. Nobody said it. I would say.
Here she comes.
Who's she?
I don't know, one of your friends.
One of my friends.
It's a woman.
Yeah, it's one of the ladies that work for Reed.
Blonde or brown?
And look brown, well, I don't know. Bill's back there. I don't know. He's in that little meeting room, but I don't know.
Do what?
He's in that little meeting room right here, but I don't know if it is or not.
We're going to check with him and see if you guys want to sit here, and I'll sit out here. There's going to be two of us.
Did you see the JR and Melanie? That's what I'm thinking. Why would you leave her at this age? Yeah. No, don't do it. Just don't do it. But, better get you a couple of them in that common shows.
I'm thinking the same thing. That's her, not me. I miss them.
Yeah, that does, like I said.
I don't care about it.
Hey, but they brought that robot out. Oh my God, I've never seen nothing like
Well, I
that. Then
thought
that
that-
big armored vehicle, and I'm thinking, where the heck is
I
this?
thought that shit belonged to the SWAT team. Paul said it belongs to them.
No, it's a SWAT team.
No, he said they pay
For sales.
Be my partner then.
It's for sales. No, it was Indiana.
But what about that robot? Robot too. I mean, 50 people couldn't see that thing.
Huh? What's that way down there? I'll move on down, I guess.
Erica, you guys got sent, as far as notice, was it Friday?
I don't know when, because I wasn't,
But they got notice sent to the paper?
yeah,
Okay.
at some point, I don't know when.
Well, it was
I
Thursday.
had it laying on my desk.
How was vacation?
It's pretty good, but it rained every day, but.
Rained the whole day or just part of it? Typical Florida rain.
The last day, we actually went to the Disney parks, it rained, but, I mean, we had to leave early, it didn't stop, it was storming.
Yeah, hey, I'm here. Yeah, all right. All right, thanks, bye.
You guys flew down, didn't you?
Yeah.
There.
Well, that makes it nice.
And I have extra black and white copies if anybody wants to look at it.
one.
Yes. I didn't even see you sitting there, Suzanne. Yeah, definitely.
Can I get my hands on one newspaper?
Does that one have any documents inside it? No. Okay. Let's see here. Council. One more.
Okay. Was it already on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's recording now.
Because of the redevelopment, does it continue to live then, or?
Yeah, I just left it.
Yeah. No doubt.
Get back to me, that one's marked pencil.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Just, podium there would be easier for us from there. Okay, this is not a meeting, it's basically just an information as far as on this riverboat. This is Valerie from the Reedy Financial Group. Is going to explain as far as one good line by line, or however you want to do this, as far as in regards to the budget, that there was the property tax refund being in this budget as far as what three of us council as far as going on, hopefully 4 or 5 up together as far as helping out the property owners in the city of Lawrenceburg, possible refunding and looking into as far as on this budget. But just explaining it, that's the only change would be in that, and then she's going to go over as far as the items that was found where there was a amount of money that could possibly do that as far as property taxes. So, Valerie, I'll let you go on here.
Okay, I'm just going to start with the 2012. The 2010 and 11 are only in here just for historical purposes, so you can see throughout the last 3 years what's been going on. I'm going to start with 2012, and we'll start with the general account. I'm just going to flip through and go down to where we've done the categories that we've done appropriations out of. And these are just temporary transfers that will be transferred right back in as soon as the riverboat and MDF funds are opened up. So those are just temporary. First one was the street, the laborer. There was $135,000. And as I'm going through this, if you have any questions, just let me know. And then clerical, $15,000. And then overtime, $25,000. And then in sanitation, there's drivers and throwers, $245, $295. And overtime, $30,000. And the Social Security, $15,000.
Valerie, I have a question.
Yep.
This doesn't include what was batch 3.
Nope. This only includes through the end of May, what we have for what was approved for batch 2 to be paid through the end of May.
Okay.
And you'll see that all the columns say through April, and then what we had as far as the register, we just took it off of the registers that we had for May. And then we just did a projection of based on salaried wages through April spending, divided that by 4 as far as wages go, so that we could get a good projection of what was going to be spent.
Your projection was way off for batch 3. Side note.
Okay.
You have line items for batch 2 now for the transfers?
Should have. They should be on here, I think.
Like the list that you gave us for batch 1. You guys said you were going to send batch 2.
Brandon didn't send that.
No, I haven't got it.
The only thing I've got is the batch 1.
Okay. All right. I'll call him after we're done and have him send that to you because I didn't realize he did not send that. I was out all day today. Okay. Where were we? So you got a pretty good idea of each line. These were just temporary transfers, everything that I'm talking about, of stuff that's going to come, that's been coming out to pay bills for MDF and Riverboat temporarily, and then it'll come right back in after the additional appropriation. So I'll let you look through. Any questions on this so far? you want me to keep going through line item by line item?
As far as what the
transfers or?
Unless somebody else has got a question about it. I mean, yes, Pat?
I just have a question, and this is just the concept, you know, and I don't know, because I mean, I don't know the law, and I certainly don't know the law as far as this is concerned, or the standard practices, but just this concept. You have the MDF and Riverboat budget, okay, you froze it, all right? But yet, you're paying items that were in it. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's coming out of the general fund, is what she was talking about. That will be refunded back to the general fund.
Right, but when you froze the budget, did you freeze just the money or the amounts of line items? Do you see what I'm saying? Because I know what you're doing. You're paying things that would have normally come out of MDF Riverboat, right, with general fund money. I understand that. But if you froze the budget, did you freeze just the dollars in it, or did you freeze the appropriated amounts? Because if you would have, or the line item amounts, because if you would have frozen the line item amounts, you would not be paying them. Is that, do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, if you say, okay, say a line item is $100,000 for playground equipment, okay, and you froze the budget, you're saying we're not going to proceed with this budget conceptually or number-wise or any way-wise, we're not going to proceed with it. But yet, if you go away and go ahead and buy the playground equipment that was considered as a part of that budget, okay, you're still buying something that was a concept or a line item that was in that budget. You're not paying with money from those funds, but you're still proceeding with the actions, the outlays that were in that budget. You see what I'm saying? There's two things to a budget. There's the line item and the amount and what it pays for, and then there's the actual money. So I guess that's just a question that, you know, I started thinking about this, and I know maybe that's kind of crazy, but you know,
I understand.
Do you understand?
Yeah,
what I'm
I understand
saying?
what you're saying. I don't know that I have an appropriate response for that, as far as I'm not sure, because it was frozen. From what I understand, the entire budget, all of the money was frozen. Right. Everything was frozen. So knowing that we're going to have to pay certain things coming out of there anyway, I don't know that it matters that it comes out of a certain line item. I think it just matters. I'll verify with Eric and get back with you, but I think it matters that it comes out of the whole. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the only thing.
For
because,
now.
You know, I mean, you could technically freeze a budget because you didn't agree with some of the line items in there. So why would you go ahead and proceed to secure them and pay for them, even though it's with monies from another fund? Do you see what I'm saying? I know it's kind of confusing. Well, maybe huh? Do you understand what? Yeah, and that's what I didn't understand, if you were actually freezing just the money or all the projects that were outlined.
It wasn't freezing the project, just paying the bills as far as from the general fund. And then going to pay it back once the budget was.
Yeah, and I understood that completely, but I didn't know if the freeze was just on the dollars within it or what those line items represented. You see what I'm saying? The actions or the purchases that those line items represented. Because in fact, some of those line items that are in there, you froze the monies, but yet you're still paying for them with other money.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Right. So that's what I wasn't sure what you actually froze, if you froze the whole thing or just the dollars that were in it. That was my confusion.
Yeah, we're still paying the bill. It was not council's intention to hold anything back.
I understood that, yeah.
But they wanted to make sure that everything was done as appropriately as possible. And that's another thing we'll go over as far as the last year's budget proposal from the clerk treasurer's office. It's everything is pretty much the same except for the property tax reimbursement. There are 4 line items that are included in there, but everything else, as far as what they asked to be appropriated.
Can you go over those specifically?
Yeah, sure can. All right, let's flip through. Did you guys have any more questions on general fund?
When you said you were gonna ask Eric about, and you said the line items for spending, can you say that again? What Pat asked you in regards to?
She asked if we froze the money, or if we froze the entire project, all of the line items.
Right, and your response was?
I'd have to check with Eric.
But about
I honestly don't know. I mean, we're paying the bills.
Right, but it
So-
doesn't matter what line items they came from.
I'm not sure if it does or it doesn't. But like I told you, I'll check with Eric and verify.
Certain things have to be paid out of certain line items. For example, how we have, you know, the 100 accounts is personal services, which are salaries, benefits, you know, the 200s are supplies. Like, you can't have a 100 come out of a 400, or, you know, a truck coming out of somebody's salary. So hence, that's why there's different codes and numbers for each thing, as far as personal services, supplies, other services, and why we have it broken down in 1s, 2s, and 3s. But now, in order to pay these bills, things are coming out of salaries and, you know, so that's all I was wanting to clarify.
Okay, which, you know, for now, you know, we'll have to go back and re-code all of that after everything is said and done, but for now, it's just getting taken out of, and then it will be coded as it goes back in. Okay. The only note that I have for the bottom of the general fund, there's on note 5 under additional appropriation, there's a $10,812 total that Eric was unsure about. He hasn't seen an ordinance or a resolution or anything for it. So he's not sure if council's seen it or approved it, or.
Which one is it?
It's just the total additional appropriation. There's several different line items that it comes out of.
What page do you want, Tyler?
I am on the very last page for the general fund total.
With all the explanations?
No, it's like before the MDF. Keep going back. No, flip back to total general. It goes general, MDF, and then riverboat.
It's 10,812, what you're asking?
Yeah, that 10,812. We're not sure exactly what that number is. We just took the additional appropriations off of, I think, the April appropriation report.
Next right here. Were you gonna come back to my question, Tyler? The 4 line items?
Yes, I am. I just want to get through the general, and then I'm going to flip through to each, if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So that was the only thing we had a question on there.
Well, the 10,800, what was that, the question?
The 10,812, we're not sure if council's seen it or approved it, or where it comes from.
Is that an amount as whole, or?
Yeah, that's the total for all of the individual line items in the general fund that had an additional appropriation for, I think, maybe March and April, or just April.
It's their products, I was gonna say, they're probably,
they could be void checks.
Adjustments or void checks, okay.
Any number of things.
Okay.
And they're more than welcome to come to our office and ask.
Okay.
Right, which like the reports that you got where you would see, you know, total budget amount, and then there's like the transfers, additions, adjustments and stuff. Those are probably like
the bookkeeping feature.
Adjustments, like let's say if something was supposed to come out of 101,069, 323, and it was really supposed to be 101,079, 323. You know, we have to COE it to come out of the correct line item, so that's why you would see it as an adjustment.
Adjustment, okay.
Which that's why they're in those categories.
Could be voided checks.
Yeah,
Or
could be
voided
voided checks, we'll put them back in,
Or voided checks.
things like that.
Okay. All right, now we can go through You asked to go through the, we'll go through MDF first, and we'll just go through it line by line, as far as, and I'm glad the clerk treasurer's office is here to correct me if there's something on here that was not part of what the clerk treasurer's office, the previous administration had asked for. So as we go through this, just shout out and let me know.
Well, we don't have the budget in front of us.
Oh, okay. I don't think I ever had it either. I think we just took it off of whatever
Budget was
report
just
we
a
had.
sheet of paper that we got, two of them, one was the MDF and one was Riverboat. That what you're referring to?
No, the budget the last council,
That is the last council.
it wasn't just 2 pages, trust me.
Well, no, that's what I got. It was totals for both of those budgets, that's all I got.
You didn't get individual line items? I'm confused.
No, this was just a sheet, had the, because I don't have it with me, I was going to bring it with me. It was just the totals of all the line
I don't
items.
know where you would have got something like that. We don't deal with just totals.
Jackie. Because on the one that was on there, it wasn't completed. It was a rough draft. That was the 27th of December.
Do you want me to wait, or?
No, you
Okay.
can go, I just want to go, get something.
Okay.
You can proceed.
Actually, Doug, to be quite honest with you, Tracy goes reports. And on those reports, when she puts them in the packets.
No, this wasn't in a pack. This is prior to, this was in December, and it just asked for it, and it was just.
I can't
Totals
speak
on
for
it.
Jackie, she's not here, so I don't know what she gave you. But Teresa, when you did become on council in January, she would do a report, and she gives it to each one of you. She may have stopped since all this happened, because nobody was reading it anyway, and nobody was asking questions. But on that report, it would list what was at the end of every month. So April, it would list the balances left, and that was line by line.
There we go, like the beginning amount, the amount dispersed, and the ending amount. Yeah, I've seen something like that before.
And that has every
You know what
single
I'm
line.
talking about, though?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she gave it to us when we came back from Indianapolis or something. Those two sheets,
Well,
one for each
it was before
budget.
that, because it was a rough, because she had written on a rough draft, and that was.
Yeah, there's one page for MDF, one page for Riverboat. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, I'll continue going through MDF. The first is for the MDF Riverfront Garage Ops for $220,000. And then there are notes on the back page that correlate to each column. Okay. We can go over those at the end if you have any questions about it. And we had the same question. I don't know, Suzanne, if you can answer this or not. The Riverboat CDs for $208,333 and the Adult Center for $85,000. I haven't seen any process, so we didn't factor it in. So we just left it at the 1.7 million. We didn't factor. Next page for the MDF. So MDF fund other services.
Okay. So what's your question?
There's a 208,333 and an 85,000. And we haven't seen any processes or anything that's gone through, so we didn't factor it in personally. We're not sure where to factor it in at.
CDs?
Yeah, it's an additional appropriation for CDs.
The purchase of? Again, Jackie does CDs, but I can tell you the process is she either rolls over CDs and the interest also goes directly back into our account, or she purchases CDs.
Okay. The note that we have for that, the general fund has $10,812 of additional appropriations, like we talked about.
The general?
Yeah, this is the note that we're talking about for all of these appropriation questions that I'm asking you that have to do with the ones that we're not sure about.
Like a list of these questions?
Yeah, it's in the back. If you go to the very back page, there are notes, and I'm looking at note 5. The general fund has 10,812 of additional appropriations.
Right, we just went over that.
Yeah, including the
We wanted to
April.
check, so-
The MDF fund has the following additional appropriations included in the city's April 30th, 2012 appropriation ledger that were not included in March 31st appropriation ledger.
Okay,
So these are-
LCD fees is actually a flow-through account. We get money, we give money. We get money, we give money. We have a lease with Conservancy District, so it's not a budgeted line item. It's not like, it shouldn't even be factored into the budget.
Okay.
Because it's a complete flow-through.
Okay.
It's a lease that we have to pay. We get money to pay it. It goes into there and it goes directly out.
Okay. All right, and then the adult center?
Adult
same thing?
Center was given by council. Jack actually had to cash out a CD to pay the Adult Center and the Yes Home that you guys wanted to pay. So in order to do that, she had to cash out a CD just to pay it. That's $85,000 for the Adult Center and whatever you said okay to for the Yes Home. Small business grant. A very low amount. To me, that looks like it could have been done in error, taken out of 280 or a different line item and had to be put back in.
Okay.
From a non-budget line item to a budget since we moved 280 and 284 accounts. But I can't say that for certain without looking at it.
The next section down has one for 285, right below that.
Mm-hmm. You want to go over that too? Next, the River Road.
Training funds, I have no idea what that is. Teresa might.
Okay.
City health insurance, we're reimbursed by Conservancy. They owe us money, we pay the bill, and then I bill them their portion from their employees.
Okay.
Fall Fest was also part of that monies that you gave them, the additional money you guys voted on. Remedial, have no idea.
What's building monument, do you know?
Building Monument pays the bills for all the building maintenance, I believe. I'd have to take a look at that. Those very well could be voided checks that were reimbursed. That's a very good possibility. It's only $5,000. That's a very good possibility that's what that is.
Okay.
Training funds, that one's got me, don't know. Do you know about training funds? Why we would have additional appropriation? $25 for training funds. I have no clue. I would have to research that.
What's the one?
I just have training funds. I don't know why not. Redevelopment Commission, that would be portions of bills that were paid for probably the event center and then put back into it.
No, I bet you.
Don't know about the demolition. And again, small business grants, probably the 284, 285 mix up. We get those
Demolition,
quite a
I think that
bit.
was a grant, Barclay County for the hotel building. Is that right, Grant?
The 119.
Yeah,
I believe that's what it was.
What was the 119,478?
It was
It was where the city and county had an agreement on demolition of the building.
Of the building, yeah.
Yeah, the MBM.
Okay.
The training funds, which might be something the police department uses. Mine and Carrie's very good at keeping track of our budgets. Let's say if, like how Suzanne said, avoid a check. Let's say if somebody gives us money back, we will actually put that money in a line item. Like if, like your guys, like your canine stuff. Let's say somebody cancels and they don't come and you say, hey, I'm giving this check back, and it's already past the month because you can only operate in the month you're in. Let's say if it was April, we would actually go and do a COE and put that $25 back into that line item. So it could have been just something as simple as that, which I'm assuming that's police, which like I said, Carrie's good at, even if it's we did what, the 16-cent check one time, she has put back in for like an overpayment. So just to keep track of the line items on, you know, what money they have and what to spend, so that's what that probably was. The same as the
Just
health
to explain to
insurance.
some of the public too, the additional appropriations, what that is money coming back to the city, and we're putting it into the funds, or into the line items. That's not money going away, that's money coming in.
Because, for example, if we just do a receipt, like let's say somebody comes in and pays for copies, okay, and you put $5 in and we do a receipt into the general fund, it goes into the fund as a whole. In order to actually make it hit that line item, we have to do it as an additional to go back to the line item. That way we're reimbursing that line item and not taking more out, so that way when it'll always be current and have that extra money, you know, not extra money, but like I said, Carrie, you know, your guys, if somebody comes back and gives us a check back and it's not in the current month, or we can just take the check number out, void it, or whatever, we have to actually do an addition. So then that way that fund is not short $25 or $50, or like you explained, the health insurance, you're putting that money in from LCD, so that way that line item is not being depleted over the course of time. That way we're reimbursing it, because if we just did a receipt into 280, it would go into its fund itself, but not actually into the corresponding line item where we take the money from. So that's why you're probably seeing a lot of these additions and adjustments.
Those are just simply adjustments. They could be correction of errors, a keying error, a voided check, where it was returned, they said they received payment.
Typos with
Typos.
instead of 223.
And we void the check and then reissue the correct check.
Okay,
That's all that is.
so anything that's under additional is just usually an adjustment of some kind?
Or
Okay.
99% of the time, which if there is, the claims that you guys check, we do make note on there, like you'll see COE, correction of error, maybe it should have been this line item, not that line item, or if it's a check going back into a line item, like on the receipt, we will put check number, blah, 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 you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is being reimbursed to correct this line item, otherwise that would make the line item short.
Right.
Okay, well, in that helps explain that. Okay, good. That, and then Suzanne, you wanted to address your question about the additions to the MDF and Riverboat?
The 5 new ones.
Okay, there's four.
New ones.
Yeah, there's 4. There's a reduction in parks maintenance and building monument maintenance. And if you guys want to look at this. And I can pass this around too if you guys want to look at it. All this shows is what was in there 2010, 2011, what their budget was, and what they actually spent. And that's where we plan on pulling the money for either property tax refund or something to benefit. Like Kyle said, and Kyle said last time, we brainstormed, you know, it could be anything. So, but it's up to council to do some brainstorming.
Was that for, or did I miss it?
Is that what? What? Oh, no, that's just the one. That's for the one to pay for the, property taxes.
Okay.
And then there's we split that into 2. We split it into City of Lawrenceburg pay 2012 property tax refund and into a City of Lawrenceburg pay 2012 other tax contingency.
And then
the last one's professional services.
I'm assuming that's the line items created to pay Kyle's attorney fees and your guys' financial fees, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
That's why.
It's $215,000. Doug, just real
Well, we're just
quick,
kind of
not to
waiting until we get through
What was
this.
the report you said you got with the line
I just got
items?
one sheet of paper, and it was bigger than that. I mean, it was,
These are reports.
I didn't get that. But what I had was, I mean, it was bigger
Do you
print.
still give
Yes,
council the reports?
At the beginning of the term, because the previous council, which Donnie's not in here, I do reports every month, like we've explained to Valerie. We're always a month behind. We can't update the current month that you're in. So right now, in the month of June, we're getting ready to update May. So what you have in front of you is figures up until April.
Do you know what I'm talking about? It was a paper that Jackie gave me, it was just like a
No.
Excel type thing.
Was it the printout of the CDs and stuff with 55 million? Because she said that she, and I remember her handing that out, which was, she did an Excel sheet on all the CDs.
I haven't ever
Can
seen
we
that.
address that real quick
Yeah.
too? Jackie insists that she gave you guys a paper that listed where that 55 million is and explained to you what it was.
I haven't
Which
got
I
it.
believe is 49 million and then 6 million in CDs.
Right.
And some already put aside for the event center or something?
Some of it, but it's mainly redevelopment.
It's redevelopment money. It's not
It's 49 and then
city.
it's like 6.5.
The 6.5 is CDs, and then the 49, that's the redevelopment.
I got something like that, yeah.
The only,
At what bank, what bank it's in?
Yeah, it had all like
Mhm.
where the money, what banks it was in,
Yeah.
that's the paper that she.
That was like in
which
February,
one-
March,
I
like
don't
that.
necessarily need to say that out in public.
Yeah,
in the
which
newspaper,
paper?
but, she did say she told
She
you.
gave all you guys a
I
list.
didn't get one, because I've never
You got
seen it.
yours.
I haven't seen this, but I got the,
Well, those reports, when you guys came into office, I do reports monthly, like Rick gets reports monthly. And the last administration, not naming names, there was like 3 particular, like they were like, oh, when I want a report, I'll come in and request them.
Yeah.
Because mind you, it is a lot of paper, we're all about the screen, So when the beginning of the term, Mike, Jane, everybody came in, I'm like, each month, I can do those reports, I can give them to you if you need to come in and request them, because otherwise they would be a stack of reports sitting somewhere that nobody would look at, and not that all this stuff is public, but.
that's fine, but I mean, this here, the one I got, Jackie gave to me personally, and it was just the total.
Excel sheet.
Right, and I was
No,
Riverboat
Teresa's
and
is every bit
MDF.
of 20 pages.
Yeah, I mean, my, what you just picked up the other day.
'Cause I was gonna bring it with me, and I thought I had it,
Report,
but I
I
don't.
think, 37 pages, because it includes everything, like, what you have right now is just 280 and 284. This isn't like the whole general, the 35 pages includes every single breakdown of my payroll. Each drug deposit has its own fund, each child support pay, has its own fund to be sent over to be cleared out, so, I don't know what I mean, there's so many requests that everybody's coming in, she could have, which, not to say I didn't see it, but I don't.
Because the one I had, she gave to me, and she said, this is a rough draft.
Right, without actually seeing it.
And
I
I've got it, but I'll.
If it was, for example, when they first did the 280, 284, that was on Excel piece of paper, which everybody.
Because this was the last of December.
Yeah, but not at just 2 pages, I wouldn't think.
What was that extra one we looked at today?
It was like 5 pages.
Yeah, which when the process first starts of 280, 284, they are put together like on an Excel piece of paper where everybody turns into Jackie, like at the police department, what's such and such, or fire, maybe that's what the paper was. But when it goes from being approved to the state, this is what is in the computer, which again, like how the question of the adjustments and all that, that's something that it's a continuous, we're always changing, working on. I mean, we get something, we just got one today, in the mail, like duplicate payment. You put them, so.
Because utilities sometimes will cross wires, and
They'll pay a
utilities
bill,
will pay a bill, and we'll pay it, because there's no way for me to know that they paid it. I can't track through their system, I can only track mine.
And our system does.
And our
catch the
system is
duplicate.
very good at catching duplicates unless there's not an invoice number for me to key in. If there's not an invoice number for me to key in, I key in the description, like application 1. Well, then it won't pull it because it's in the descriptor line, not the invoice line. So sometimes we'll get duplicates like that.
Like the one today was from the utility paid the bill and we paid the bill because they're on different.
So we'll void the
systems.
check, put it back in the line item, and that's how you get the additionals. One of the ways.
far, like on the parks and maintenance and the buildings monument maintenance, as far as the amount that's budgeted for that and the actual amount that's actually used? Why would you budget?
That was put in there, I think, Grant, you can kind of elaborate on there. You know, with the fear of the state always coming down and saying they're gonna take our money, that was something when we first set up the funds, I think there was, what, 2 million in there. That is an amount that we carried over, which you see that we budgeted $1 million, we carried over 4 million, because Grant was explaining that we can't foresee in August what's gonna happen next year. Like, this year, we don't know what's gonna happen in 2013. So
It's
Grant-
always wise to pad a little.
to pad, you know, just the same as
For
even our
unforeseen
general
events.
plans. But how Grant explained it was, if there was a drought and the ball fields, they totally got ruined, I don't know the correct terms you used, but let's say we had to redo the entire ball fields, we wouldn't have that money, so we would go to this parks line with the extra money in it and fix the problem, or if a building got destroyed, or not necessarily unforeseen acts by God, that's what insurance is for, but, you know, that's why there's extra money to maintain our buildings, to maintain our
But there's
parks.
always what ifs and what could be's, and you have to account for those. Just like you have a savings account in your own personal life.
Right.
It's for the what ifs, the what could be, and you try to put in there as much as you can.
And that carryover could be, from 2 or 3 years of having $1 million, like we only budgeted $1 million, and the first year we carried over, you know, 500,000. I mean, without me going back and us looking at 2010, 2009, don't know that off the top of my head, but it could be a combination of 3 or 4 years, and it was just budgeted at $1 million each year, and we only spent X amount of dollars, so then that's how it turned into carrying over 4 million.
And the
So it
reason
makes
they're so
sense.
high in those particular lines, and sorry, Grant, I didn't mean to interrupt, but one of the other reasons is we have a lot of buildings, and a lot of buildings to maintain.
A lot of parks.
And, right, and a lot of parks, and those things aren't cheap, and, you know, you're gonna need that what-if money. So that's why, one of the reasons why it's padded.
Like $9 million padded?
No, it's
It
not.
could be carryovers.
It could be
I mean,
carried over
there's-
from, like I said,
Well,
we
I
could
realize
budget
that,
in
but-
2007, 8, 9, to 10, $1 million each year. Well, as we roll over, we carried over each of that
As long as
year.
you're not spending it.
Right, so maybe it's a combination of 3 years, and it got up to be 4 million,
You wanna build
but
up your savings account too.
otherwise, if it's
This
not.
isn't drawing anything as far as interest, anything like that being in
Yeah,
a
it's in
fund
our
like
checking
this.
account that we
Well, I
get
mean,
interest on.
not what you would be getting if it was in a CD or something like that.
Well,
Not that
it
there's not that
depends.
much interest in it
That
anyway.
would be a
I
whole
mean-
nother argument in itself, right?
I mean, it just depends,
If
but
I-
I'm just, you know, at one time, it would have been.
And
at one point in time, we.
Because you probably get about as much on your checking
Can't
now as you
speak
do in your
about
CD out.
another point in time.
Well, that's true.
That's a whole nother conversation.
But I'm just saying that, what is the checking? What's the interest rate on it, getting on money-wise?
You
Interest
know,
rate.
I'm not exactly sure. I really don't know.
Okay, Grant.
If I could just interject here. What I did, Councilman Taylor, I went back and looked at 5 years and how this grew. In 2007, we had an expenditure of over $2 million, just over $2 million out of that category. It had been funded that year with $2 million, and it left us in that 2000 year $1,063,000 roughly. So just the expenditures in 2007, just looking at expenditures alone, it was just a little bit over $2 million. $518,000 in 2008, $609,000 in 2009, $560,000 2010, which starts meshing up with what this young lady here did, and then $507,000. In the parks and maintenance, the only thing, and I talked to Councilman Lawrence about this, is that the only issue that, you know, of course, you know, we got a catastrophe, we got insurance that comes into play, but we do have a $5,000 deductible. But let's say we did hit a drought this year, and we lost our baseball fields, then where would those dollars come from? Yeah. Is an example there. On the building maintenance, I mean, but if you go back 5 years, that budget was roughly had a balance of it about $1,063,000. Okay, and and it's grown to, at the end of last year, about $4.5 million, and then they put another amount to it. On a building monument, in 2007, there was $2.4 million spent out of that. Okay, and then
That was actually doing some of the monuments too, though.
could have possibly been. I don't have a breakdown of how that got dispersed, but I was just looking at it as in whole. What type of activity has it had in the past?
But I mean, as far as the maintenance and all that, I would actually be putting the monuments in place, and maintenance wouldn't, I mean, it'd be the cost, initial cost.
It could be, and it could be the maintenance along with that. Then $427,000 in '08, $783 in '09. Now, those 3 years, there was $2 million budgeted into those items, so that's where this pot started growing. And then in 2010, which matches up with the work that's been done here, $351,000, and then just a little bit over $702,000 in 2011. So at one point, 2007, the balance in that fund was $1.3 million, and it has grown from that. But so the only thing there is what could happen, how's it built, what could occur that we would be wanting to draw those funds down.
Is there some way you can do a projection on that?
Well, I don't know.
Just a worst case scenario?
Like the baseball field. Well, I mean, you'd have to go back and look at the worst case scenario and say, well, just looking at a 5-year study, we had a 2.4 hit.
Okay.
Okay. But then you go back to the parks, we had a $2 million hit, just in looking at it in 5 years. Our average has been down from that, but then I don't know if it's a cycle.
What was the $2 million hit as far as in the parks? I mean, what?
It was $2 million. Expended expenses in 2007 was $2,088,000.
But again, I mean, some of the, like the Little League field, like that was like $750,000.
Right.
As far as on that.
And this year we're back there.
I mean, now the maintenance and expenditures shouldn't be something of that magnitude.
Right. But this could have been, when I asked the question about it, you know, what can happen in park and maintenance? And they said your biggest expense is your ball fields. So an example, if we got a drought, we lost our fields, then we're trying to get it back in the spring, spending those dollars along with, you know, that's always a hot one to handle because it's the kids. It's a Little League in that.
So is there some way to anticipate, just a general idea of, say the ball field, something happens?
We're getting ready to anticipate with doing a new budget next year.
Right, because that's basically
that's where it came from. And then I'm with these gentlemen here. Y'all got to see it 2 weeks longer than I've seen it as far as the budget. Now it's been put together. But I just went back and looked at the history a little bit beyond what they looked at. But you do have those expenditures, and I can see because of those expenditures, that's why the pot started building.
Right, and I see that, Grant, as far as going on there, but in the, looking at this, if this is just a one-time deal as far as an property tax refund back to the property owners, or however it's going to be comprised, then that's something that would be to the citizens as far as of the city.
And if that's a cause that the council wants to take, it's a great cause.
But I mean, that's as far as these budgets here.
Right. But my job is
I understand.
To protect the budget, make sure that you have all the information when you do make the decision. And I just looked at 5 years, and again, yes, we will be going through this process starting next week is when we start budgeting for next year. But that's what I came up with. And the other thing is talking with the people, the department heads that are involved in this, and going through the process. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Which I don't think anybody, including us, ever said about not thinking the property tax idea wasn't a good idea. I think the main point is being that nobody talked to us, nobody contacted us, nobody asked these questions that we're all asking now. These same meetings were done with the previous administration. This is also the same meeting that, you know, we're going to be having on the 25th. to go line by line, which we've already done. And the reason why you're saying why is that money sitting there, it's appropriated, otherwise it would be in the fund, you know, and like I said, the fear of the state always coming down and taking our money. If the money is budgeted and accounted for, they can't take that money. So if it's not budgeted, accounted for, they can come in and take whatever's sitting there in the pot. So that's part of the reason why, especially our big expenses like that, they carry them over. And like Grant explained, like that's several years of carryover. It's not like we just say, hey, let's put $7 million in a fund and let it sit there. That was never the case with any of the line items. Because even with our state budget that we do with general and stuff, like, you know, we know that over the years, like storm sewers, you know, like we had to cut them, you know, because the state even noticed, hey, you're not spending it, let's move this here, move that there. So
Did I answer your questions okay, Suzanne, about the 4 line items?
I don't know, I think we got so sidetracked. Property tax 2012 fund and 2012 other tax. Also putting in a personal services.
Professional services.
And, or professional. And then we're doing 2 reductions, parks and building maintenance.
Yes.
That's the 4 things that you're saying changed?
Yep.
So there's not 4 additions, there's just 2 additions, 2 subtractions?
That should be it.
Okay.
Yep. Everything else, and that's what I'm here to do today, is to make sure that we're all on the same page, to make sure that, you know, we're correct in saying this is what you guys asked for in the beginning, minus those 4. So I just want to verify.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you that without actually looking at this budget, and you know, I didn't have this information 2 days ago, so I couldn't.
Well, go over it before the meeting and just let us know if there's something on there that's.
It appears to be similar, but that's about all you're gonna get me to say at this point.
Okay, well, let us know. I know you guys are really busy, so if you have time, we went by what we had, so.
Which also, I don't know if council, you two being new, or, I mean, I know Bobo was aware of it, that you guys knew that you could have did this and did them like 4 line items and reductions, not without freezing the
That could have been done
entire
on Jackie's ordinance. It didn't have to be done this way.
Well, even without stopping the whole process, saying that, you know, redoing the budget, how you said things are just thrown in front of you, like the first time Reedy prepared and said, hey, this is a new budget, we want to accept it, which I think you were flabbergasted, Bobo,
Yeah.
would be seen it. The 3 of you admitted that you 3 did not put it together, had no hand in it, acted like you never seen it before that night. With the exception of the property tax thing, which has been discussed in the previous administration, said Mayor Cunningham also had the same idea. But with this being not a state budget, with this being our riverboat money, our MDF money, that we can change and reduce them line items by having a work session, sitting down and talking about together.
This could have been done months ago.
Right, if that was the idea of saying, hey, let's look at these 2 line items that we think we have extra money in.
No
like,
offense,
let's
Valerie.
not.
Oh, no,
yeah,
I'm taking, no, this is all business.
But to see that, oh, hey, there's an extra $8 million, you know, why don't we just stop spending on those? Let's sit down and have a meeting and think of, without cutting the entire budget, freezing everything, putting us a month and a half, 2 months behind, that could have been a simple fix in a week.
And now we're gonna have to do transfer after transfer to get everything back.
From all the transfers from the general.
The other transfers.
The line item that is not approved by the state in our state budget. So that could have been something easily fixed with a work session.
Valerie, I do have another question. Okay. Looking in note 8, government support line item reduced. What's that?
Government support. Oh, that, the 1.8 million? Is that what you're looking at?
It just says note 8, government
Oh,
support
yeah, no,
line
8.
item.
Government support line item was reduced due to non-government spending from this line item in 2011. That was a Dave O'Mara, not government supported. You just need to do another additional appropriation.
Actually,
Was
Dave
it?
O'Mara is perfectly fine in that line item.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mario is not here to speak about that, but he will gladly do that at the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll bring that up and talk to Mario?
Yes.
Okay. So this was good in 2011?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
But that's not, you're just stating there that that was a.
That was a question.
Okay.
Yeah, these
Not
are.
a reduction.
No, these are
proposed.
simply just questions that we
Okay.
have to work out to
Okay.
make sure that everybody's on the same page.
That's a Mario question.
Okay, we'll talk to Mario
And
about
he
that.
may be in the building. I can certainly look.
No, he
left. He left, okay.
And then I think that is pretty much takes care of all the questions I think that we had, or all the clarifications that we needed. Make sure.
Well, let me ask you a question, and this is
I'll try to
just totally off the top of my head here, but how were you going to answer these questions if we weren't present? Because we just found out about this meeting this morning.
Well, I was assuming that you guys would be here. I think
That's a pretty bold assumption. We didn't have to be here.
I was just assuming that you guys would.
Is the riverboat fund the 280 or the 284?
Oh,
That was the other, that was the.
Yeah, last year-
You guys, in the meeting that we had, I don't know which meeting, at one point, sorry, not to cut you off, because that was one of the questions. The proposed budget that you guys did, it was, everything was 280, and there was like no 284s. Is that all back to being the same, or?
Yeah, there's still gonna be a 280, 284. I think from how I understand it, last year there was some coding flip-flops, whereas in 2010, I think it was fine. 2011, there were some coding flip-flops.
Right.
So we're trying to compare apples to apples, to say, we're trying to, but that's why it has the either MDF or the riverboat in parentheses. We're trying to compare what was flip-flopped, and then this year we plan on getting it set back.
So
how it should be, I guess.
The question
Last year, we had, like, for instance, a small business, 280, 0146. This year it would be 284, or vice versa. I think actually this year it's 280.
Technically, it's the same, it's the riverboat money. It's just, at one point in time, when we could set it up, you can only spend certain things out of certain funds. So the bulk of our.
Theoretically, MDF is funded by Riverboat, but we have to have two separate.
To spend different, to pay certain things out of different funds, like, there was
I was
limits
just looking
on.
at this, and I've seen certain numbers that said
Right.
riverboat.
Which we asked the same, I asked that same question, so there is still gonna be a 280 and a 284, like, what I just gave you here.
As far, yeah, as
So all this
far,
is going
I
to be
will-
staying the same
Let
with the
me-
exceptions of the four.
Let me confirm that with Eric.
That would be a major
280.
computer change, because I noticed now it has the 284 riverboat, but I think one of the previous
We're always tweaking.
budgets that you got, everything was 280, and it just had notes on the side what riverboat was, but it was
Yeah.
still 280.
Yeah.
Which I understand what you got,
Yeah,
to do the
to do a
comparison, I
comparison.
totally understand that,
Yeah.
but this is how.
Okay, I'll
Like
make sure.
Suzanne said,
So this is how you guys have it set up currently?
This is how it's set up currently, which, it marks what they are, 280, from the fund report that you guys get, it says 280 MDF, 284 riverboat. Which obviously, we're always, even after being employed here for 15 years, we're always learning and hoping to improve ourselves and find new ways, because on top of that, the state's always changing on, when I first started working here, you couldn't spend riverboat money on half the stuff that we're spending on now. So as they've changed, we've had to kind of change with them on what we can spend our money on, just the same as why we have so many foundations and how they distribute our money, because we can't give money to certain people, the same as
the property tax idea that, and I think Jane's still under the misunderstanding that the city of Lawrenceburg is gonna be cutting Suzanne Orndorff a check for $500. That's not how it's gonna work. You can't do that. Like I said, the previous administration did look into this, Mayor Cunningham, and everything has to flow through the county. It's not just us cutting checks to the residents of Lawrenceburg. Not saying it can't be done. No, I mean, we're not saying that, but just how we used to not be able to spend money on certain things or issue a direct check from the city to somebody, how we have to go around foundations and things like that. It would be a similar process. I don't know all the ins and outs. I just know what we know from Mayor and Jack, the previous mayor, having discussions about the property tax, and maybe it's changed since that. I mean,
Well,
since, you know, maybe you
That's what
can.
we're just trying to see.
Right.
And the benefit there. Anybody else got any questions?
The other reporter has a question. This is for poor Valerie, who will probably have to go to Eric. To go back to the previous stuff in note 5, shouldn't the financial advisors know about these standard accounting practices that they have to put money back in? That, you know, because I see these sort of things in legals all the time, from Lawrenceburg, from Greendale, from Aurora. So why question it when these are just standard normal accounting things? And like Suzanne mentioned, the flow-through accounts, that Aurora has them, Greendale has them, the county has them. And I mean, the county has a list, you know, as long as my arm in the paper a few times a year with small amounts here, there, and everywhere that, you know, these are just standard accounting things. So why, you know, why bring it up in the note and spend 15 minutes talking about it? Sorry.
That's a very good question. I will definitely address that with Eric. For now, all I'll say is I just want to make sure that we all are of the same understanding. We all have on the same page. So, but I will definitely ask Eric about the standard.
Why bring up these? I mean, you know, yeah, it's $500,000, but it's also $500,000 that's actually already been accounted for at one point. It's just being moved.
That's
Yeah, you did understand, and I'm sorry, Erica.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
Belabor this issue, but I want to make sure they did understand from all that talking that I did, the LCD fees, if you budget $500,000 in there, you're taking $500,000 away from something else. It doesn't need to be budgeted. In Reedy's office, Reedy, he should know that. That's a standard, like Erica said, flow through. And you do not want to budget it in there. Not like that. I'm not saying everything we do is by the book correct. And, you know, we'll be the first ones to tell you that we appreciate nothing more than to come to us and say, hey, I don't think you're doing this right. Maybe you need to do this, or ask questions. And that, you know, I know this is off topic a little bit, but that is what has angered us so much in this whole process. You guys went and hired someone else when this is Jackie's job, this is our job to answer those questions. And you didn't even do that. You skipped that step altogether.
I didn't hire anybody.
Well,
and Eric, the fact that what you asked, since we now have to involve, when we have a meeting on the 25th, our financial people will come down and explain the errors that they found. And again,
And that the state finds everything.
Right, that's a big, huge.
I've seen it in
thing, which in the letter you guys got.
17 years of sitting at Lawrenceburg meetings and county meetings and a few Greendale meetings, that there's always stuff that the state changes the way it wants something done, that this was taken out of the wrong line item, and we have to do it this way, and then the state changed its mind 2 years later. And there wasn't even a budget. I've said it in columns, so I'll say it again at this workshop, whatever. there wasn't even a budget for this money.
Correct.
Until 2002.
Correct.
So we're gonna go looking for missing money.
Right. We know.
We paid out one line
We
item.
have one line item, we paid everything out.
And that was-
And it was.
We helped put in place.
Unfinished product.
You were here.
And that's one
I
way.
was here.
Riverboat had 284, had 2 line items because we couldn't pay anything out of that at one point in time. And MDF had the bulk because the state's constantly changing the way it goes. But on the meeting on the 25th, which I hope the letter explained everything on why it was so late, like me and you talked about, Doug, we would love nothing more than the meeting to be on Wednesday, this be done, we have it approved, and we go back to normal business. But our attorney's out of town, the mayor's out of town the following week, so, and on the 25th, when we rediscuss all this, hopefully things are more clear. I'm assuming you're 26th is the regular council meeting, 25th is the work session.
Okay.
So, what we're having now, but official. But Bob will address any further questions. I'm assuming they've been talking, Kyle's been talking, so hopefully that this, along with that, will get us all on the same
What is
page.
it though, as far as, is Lawrenceburg the only one in the state that has an MDF budget?
No, there's other places that have it.
They have riverboat budgets, but Lawrenceburg is the only city in the
Has an
entire state
MDF.
that has the development agreement, that has the gigantic pot of gold. Thanks to Pat Kreider and the people who were on city council when the deal was negotiated. Lawrenceburg has the biggest pot of gold.
This leads me to ask just one quick thing about when Judd was here. Are you really gonna do this property tax thing and risk all that?
Risk
For
all?
a one-time payout?
No, I mean, what it's explained is if you had a windfall as far as the money to be able to pay it out in other years to come, or however it would be, that you could do it then. I mean,
Did
not,
you listen to Judd at all? I mean, are you?
I was here. I heard every
What
word he said.
He showed up and made a special trip. That meant something.
All right, I think it was
He
about
came here.
Oh, I talked to Judd before and after the meeting. That meant something too.
Like, yes, we're one of
This
the
might be
lucky ones.
irrelevant because all this money's not gonna matter to this.
No.
I'd like to interject something. I was sitting beside Judd when the 9,000 and the 5,000, I can't remember exact figures, but the money that was left over in the budget,
The
one of the
nine,
budgets.
so it's a total of like 8 million,
And
9 million.
he looked at, he didn't look at me, he looked straight ahead, he was talking. And actually, you gotta understand what Judd was here for. He was here for the mental health
Correct.
commission. He was not here for the general meeting, he was here for them because he's representing the board of directors on that. But he looked at me, or looked up there and he says, how in the world do they have an overrun of $9 million? And that's what, I mean, that's what was said. I heard him say it. He was directing it.
Right, sure. It's not gonna say we have an extra such and such money sitting around, which Grant explained, we tried to explain, if somebody would have asked us, they would have seen that it's been ongoing since with 2007 grant, that it's always, even if, we've had a line item like $50, I don't wanna use the word padding, it's not a good. Yeah, I mean, we're just talking in circles, but Bob will be here, Erica, everybody has the notice of the 25th now.
Well, like you said, Teresa, we try to get this done sooner the better. I'm
Well,
not
we
comfortable
were-
with going to the end of the month.
Well,
because
like I said earlier, if this is what wanted to be done with 4 line items, it could have been done with a work session, not froze the accounts, not stopped all the spending and.
Yeah, you're worried about time now, but this could have
Right.
been done 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, there could have been a little bit more communication too.
I
It's not on
agree
record.
100%.
I never got any calls from any of you guys in the concerns on that until now.
What did you want me to call,
Well, I
what did
mean,
you
if
want the
I-
office to call you about?
Well, I mean, just like what you're talking about here now and all. I mean,
I can't read your mind.
I
Jack
read
can't
hers
read
either.
your
I
mind.
can't read hers either.
There's nothing to read. We just would explain everything that you have to explain.
Which I did go over with Jane and Mike and explain my items, so.
Well, I mean,
you know, the years.
they're in there because of being on that
That'd be
committee.
great, thank you.
Yeah, we'll continue. So Valerie, were we still explaining or were?
If you have any more questions, I think I went over the
Pat?
highlights.
Yeah, just the two things that, you know, I guess it involves is park maintenance and building maintenance budgets. You know, the one thing that I've observed since we've had all this money, it's been wonderful. I mean, we've now got a lot of facilities that years ago we didn't have, which is fantastic. And all along, as I've kind of sat back and observed us building another thing, doing another park, I think it's wonderful. I'm thrilled to death that we have this now. But in the back of my mind, you know, because I'm kind of the kind of person that always looks like way into the future, I'm thinking, okay, if like 20 years from now, we don't have this gaming money for whatever reason. I mean, we could be impacted by Cincinnati, we could be impacted by the state's action, who knows? I mean, nothing is forever. And in the back of my mind, I've always thought, you know, we've got these wonderful facilities, but then the challenge, if we don't have the money, is to maintain them. So is there a way that the city can set aside funds, maybe not in the budget the way it's set up now, which is a rolling kind of cumulative situation, but somewhere where the city can put aside money and it's not touched. It's funds that are fairly restricted and they're to be used only for park maintenance or only building maintenance. Because I really see that could be an issue for the future. Right.
Yeah, other cities do that. I think Aurora started some endowments down there so it keeps their
yeah, and I don't know how you do it or what's the best instrument or the best strategy, but I would really hope that somewhere along the line we would set that money up so that future generations wouldn't be, and some of these buildings in some place once again are going to have to be replaced. You know, I can remember when we had those old fire stations where the trucks didn't even fit in fire stations, and like we had no money to build a new fire station. Now we do. Down the line, that one could have some major issues and need some major rehab. Where's that money come from? And that's my only concern. I don't know how you do it, but that somehow we take care of the city into the future.
Teresa?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't there a non-reverting, aren't there non-reverting?
There is non-reverting funds, yes.
Funds for both of those though?
I want to say, which I'm not 100% sure on when I say this, but I believe these, the park maintenance and the monuments were set up initially as $1 million CDs, and we were losing money when all the rates were really, really bad. And so I think that's how this line item got created, because we were gaining more money as a whole in our bank account. But don't, that's something that Jackie questioned. Yeah, that's something that I want to say, we had these investments and we weren't losing, like, you know, you cash out a CD and get the interest. We weren't getting anything back on the return. And I want to say the bank people came down and talked to Jackie and said,
I think it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Better thing.
Yeah, keep this as a whole because you're making interest on a bigger amount than having these CDs or whatever. But I don't, that's a Jackie, she handles the CDs and stuff.
You have anything else?
I think
Pretty much covered it.
I think we pretty much covered everything.
Does anybody else got any questions? Comments? All righty. I think that'll take care of it. Thank you all for coming.
You'll get batch 2 for me?
Yes, I will definitely do that in the morning. I thought he was more help to you. I don't know why I didn't. Nope. Sorry I couldn't be more help.
That's okay.
You should have said something about a chair.
Oh no, it's fine. I was been sitting with Ethan all day and sitting in the car all day.
I wasn't at my computer much today.
Oh, I haven't even been in the office today.
Okay,
So.
but yeah, we'll definitely need batch 2 and 3, which I know you said you were working on 3 too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, I've been around almost as long as
That's a lot of time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Right behind you.
Seeing this right, but I think what your original, that's what you really was trying to find out?
I didn't, but they talked about getting.
Are there, Mike or Jane around?
No, I'm not talking about, I'm talking.
Mike, I'll
before
see
that, when
him.
they originally
Jane,
decided- when
what,
they originally
for
talked
them?
about doing it,
Yeah.
I just wanted to find out.
And for Bill, but I don't know if you'll see him or
Hire a
not.
financial advisor.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah, take care, Fred.
Try and get information from-
Thanks.
You guys are second class.
Oh my gosh.
You guys